Speaking of crime and punishment for what may or may not be appropriate, or is more accurately not appropriate at all, let's dig into the coming sentencing of former President Donald Trump. And before I get to this, I want you to know that his gag order is staying in place. The gag order on Donald Trump staying in place, the New York Court of Appeals allowed that to continue, a violation of his constitutional rights, unprecedented as far as I'm concerned. But the crime and punishment for being found guilty of beating Hillary Clinton and turning the political establishment on its collective head is coming. The vengeance they seek goes beyond President Trump. They want to nail anyone in his circle. That's perfectly clear, too. You see, the corporate media is gloating over the prison sentence of Steve Bannon that he may or may not serve, hoping he serves time with the worst criminals of all. Listen to this.
Breaking news, Steve Bannon denied his request for the so-called Club Fed when he's forced to report to prison. Sources telling CNN that the longtime Trump ally will not get a cushy prison assignment, but is likely to serve time in a Connecticut prison where he could be placed with violent criminals and sex offenders. A prison that does not have individual cells, but rather an open pod layout for inmates. And CNN is learning tonight that there is also a chance Bannon could be sent to New York City's infamous Rikers Island.
And she's happy about that, isn't she? Rikers Island. Of course, CNN's happy to have anybody watching. What I was mentioning earlier, though, is this. A House Republican committee has moved to reverse the J6 committee subpoena against Trump advisors days before Steve Bannon would report to prison. They state that the J6 committee was solely partisan in its exercise, determined to vilify President Trump and his advisors, and if there's no subpoena because it's been removed, then there is no crime. We'll keep an eye on this development. But coming up on Thursday, July 11th, Judge Juan Merchan will sentence President Trump. The sentence may depend on what probation officials say. The sentence will depend on what these officials write in their pre-sentence report. And what these officials recommend, they have the power to recommend anything as a crime, but they will determine whether Trump goes to prison or remains on probation, out of jail, how much money he may pay. The recommendation will determine what happens next, including whether the election of Donald Trump as our next president will potentially happen at all. What these officials say will determine who has final say in our fine republic. What these officials write based on a virtual interview done a week ago will be part of the official record. And, of course, it will be paraded through the media, meat grinder all the while. Trump not allowed to utter a word because of that ongoing gag order. In this respect, with regard to the process, this is how the process works. That this is how our system of justice works is not enough to say the law is colorblind, because clearly it is not.